the one with gold curls and a waist a man could span with his hands, and she was sitting on the edge of the long pine table in the kitchen swinging her boots. The other three girls, Nellie, June, and Clara, were fanned out behind her, like she paid them to stand there. Emily stood in the doorway with her sleeves pushed up to her elbows and her hands red from the washboard. She was broader than any of them, taller than two. She carried her weight the way some women carry a child, like it was a thing she had been hauling a long while and didn't plan to put down. She'd heard every word they had for her. She kept hearing them. "I'll have it by Saturday, Prudence. Saturday." Prudence made the word sound like an illness. "Nellie, did you hear that she'll have it by Saturday?" "How?" Nellie said. "That is the question." Prudence hopped down off the table. $7.50. Where you gonna find that kind of money in this town? Sugar, you done tried the laundry. You done tried the mercantile. Mr. Briggs at the livery wouldn't let you sweep his aisles. He said she'd scare the horses," June said, and the girls laughed like it was the first time they'd heard it. "I'll find the work," Emily said. "I know where there's work." Emily waited. $2 a day, Prudence said. "Room and board separate. Pay up front the whole week if you want it. Honest coin." "Where?" "Jack Turner's place." The laughter stopped. Nellie looked at her boots. Clara looked at the window. Only Prudence kept her eyes on Emily's face. "No," Emily said. "Why no?" "You know why no. I know he shot a man in Bannock 3 years back, and the sheriff said it was self-defense and nobody believed it. I know his wife went into the ground and nobody stood beside him at the burying. I know the barn ain't been cleaned out since she died, and a grown man cannot stand the stink of it." Prudence ticked them off on her fingers. "I know he needs somebody, and I know you need $2 a day. That's what I know." "Prue," Nellie said under her breath. "Hush, Nellie. It's a low trick. It's honest work." "It ain't." "Emily." Prudence turned back around. "You want the roof over your head, or you want to sleep in the road, 'cause Mrs. Hallam is putting your bag in the hall come Saturday sundown, and you know it, and I know it. Now I can go tell Mr. Turner I found him a girl, or I can leave you to figure it out." Emily didn't answer for a long moment. Her throat was full of something that wasn't quite tears, and wasn't quite anger, and wasn't quite either. "Saturday," she said. "Tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday. Tomorrow's whatever Mr. Turner says it is. He's particular." June snorted. Clara covered her mouth. Emily looked at the four of them a long time. She had been in the boarding house 2 months, and she had learned a good deal about them in that time. She had learned that Prudence wasn't cruel because Emily was fat. Prudence was cruel because she was bored, and cruelty was what she had instead of a life. "Fine," Emily said. "Fine. Tomorrow." "Oh, sugar." Prudence put a hand over her mouth like she was hiding a smile and doing a poor job of it. "You sure?" I said fine. "Well?" Prudence looked at the girls. The girls looked at the floor. "I'll walk you out in the morning." She did not sleep that night. She lay on the thin mattress and listened to the house breathing and thought about the things she had heard concerning Jack Turner. A man who had buried his wife and their unborn child in the same winter. A man who had been seen in town twice in 4 years. A man who kept a rifle across his saddle when he rode for supplies and a rifle across his knee when he sat on his porch. At first light, she got up, washed her face in the tin basin, pinned her hair back with the pin she'd had since she was 14, and went down to the kitchen. Prudence was already dressed bright as a Sunday. "Cheer up, sugar. A job's a job." "Don't call me sugar." "Whatever you like." They walked the road out of town together. Prudence ahead, Emily behind. Emily was breathing harder than she wanted to be. Prudence kept looking back and smiling and slowing down and speeding up like she was training a dog. "There it is." "Lord," Emily said, "I told you." "You didn't tell me that." "Well, now you see it." Prudence stopped at the gate. She did not go in. "You ain't comin'." "I got an errand in town." "You said you'd walk me." "I walked you to the gate. Turner doesn't like callers. I ain't about to be one." Prudence put a hand on the top rail. "I'll tell Mrs. Hallam you found work. You're safe through the week, whatever comes of it. Prudence. What? Why? Prudence looked at her. For one honest second, the face she wore was a different face. "'Cause I didn't like how you walked in here 2 months ago with your chin up," she said. "'Cause somebody told me my whole life who I was, and I guess I wanted to tell somebody for a change." She turned away. "Good luck, Emily." She walked off fast. She did not look back. The dog started up before Emily was 10 steps inside the gate. A big ropey thing, gray around the muzzle, tied to a post with a length of chain that clinked every time it lunged. It wasn't barking. It was making a low sound in its chest that was worse than barking. "Hush," Emily said. The dog kept on. "Hush now. I ain't here for you." The door of the house opened. "Who sent you?" The voice came from the porch. Emily could see the shape of a man behind the post, a shape and a long straight line that was the barrel of a rifle, not aimed at her, but not pointed away either. "Prudence Dill sent me. From the boarding house. She said you needed help with the barn." "Did she?" "Yes, sir." "Come on up where I can see you." Emily walked to the bottom of the porch steps. She did not go up them. She had been raised not to crowd a strange man on his own porch. "I'm Emily Carter." "You're a big woman, Miss Carter." She said nothing. That was not meant for an insult. It was a remark. I took it as a remark. He was older than she had thought he would be. Not old. A man of maybe 32 or 33 with black hair going a little long around the ears and a jaw that hadn't been shaved in a day or two. His eyes were the eyes of a man who had decided a long time ago that he was not going to be surprised by anything anymore. "Go home, Miss Carter." "Sir, go home. I come for work." "I can see what you come for. Go home." "You advertised for help." "I didn't advertise nothing. Miss Dill came out here 3 weeks ago asking if I needed a hand, and I told her no, and she said she'd send somebody anyway, and I told her not to bother, and here you are." He shifted the rifle and leaned it against the porch post. "I ain't gonna have it, ma'am. Not you. Not anybody. You walk on back to town and tell Miss Dill I said no, and I meant it." "Mr. Turner." "Ma'am. If I walk back to town tonight, I ain't got a bed to sleep in." "That's a shame." "It is." "It ain't my shame." "No, sir, it ain't." She breathed in. "I come to work. $2 a day was what she said. I'll take $1. I'll take 50 cents and a meal. I'll take the meal." "Miss Carter." "I'll take the meal, Mr. Turner." He looked at her for a long while. The dog had settled. A wind came up and moved her sleeves, and he watched that too and said nothing. "You ain't et today." "No, sir." "Nor last night neither, I'd judge." "No, sir." He was quiet. "Come on inside. I'll eat on the porch. Suit yourself." He went in. He came back out with a piece of cornbread the size of a man's fist and a tin cup of buttermilk, and he set them on the top step, and he walked back inside, and he shut the door. Emily sat down on the bottom step, and she ate the cornbread in 4 bites, and she drank the buttermilk in 2 swallows, and she sat with the empty cup in her lap and waited. The door opened again. "You still there?" "Yes, sir. I told you go home." "You fed me." "That wasn't a hire." "No, sir. But I'm here and the barn's there, and I reckon I can start on it while you decide what you want to do about it." "Miss Carter." "Mr. Turner, I ain't leaving." "You are." "I ain't." "I could carry you." "You could try." He almost laughed. He caught it before it got out of him, but she saw where it had been. "Girl." "Ma'am, sir, or Miss Carter. I ain't been a girl in a long time." "Miss Carter." "Yes." "Why what? Why you doing this?" "I told you, I ain't got a bed." "That ain't why." She looked up at him. He was leaning on the post with one hand in his pocket and the rifle forgotten behind him. "Because I am tired, Mr. Turner." "Of what?" "Of being told what I can and cannot do by people who can't do the half of it themselves." He took that in. It took him a moment. "That barn'll kill you." "It might?" It's 3 after a day of it. Won't be the first time. Miss Carter. Yes, sir. I ain't paying you $2. I didn't ask for 2. I'll pay you 75 cents and a meal twice a day, and you'll sleep in the bunkhouse yonder, and you will not set foot in this house. Not for any reason. Yes, sir. You quit when you want to quit. Yes, sir. You quit by sundown, nobody'll think the less of you. I won't quit by sundown. We'll see. Yes, sir. Miss Carter. Yes, sir. Turner. It's Turner. Not Mr. Turner. Mr. Turner was my daddy, and he's 3 years in the ground, and I do not answer to it. Turner. There you go. The barn was worse than the flies had made it look. She stood in the doorway with a pitchfork he had handed her without a word, and she looked at the 3 years of a life that had been left where it fell, and she understood all at once why the town had sent her. It wasn't because the work was hard. It was because no one in Miles Crossing thought she would begin. I am going to begin, she said to nobody, and she stepped inside. Jack went to the house. The door shut behind him. He did not come out again that morning. She worked until noon without sitting. She worked until her hands bled through the gloves he had left for her on a rain barrel. His wife's gloves, she thought, and did not ask. She worked until her shoulders were a single line of fire from the bottom of her neck to the small of her back. She worked until the flies got used to her and stopped lifting when she moved. At noon, Jack came out and whistled once from the porch, and she walked out blinking, and there was a plate on the step. Beans and cornbread and a strip of cold salt pork. She ate sitting on the step. He did not come out. When she was finished, she stacked the plate and went back. At dusk, he came to the door of the barn. He did not come in. Miss Carter. Sir. That's enough. 1 more hour. It's enough, Miss Carter. I said 1 more hour. I said it's enough. She straightened. Her back cracked audibly, and she did not flinch. She set the pitchfork against the stall, and she walked to the door and stopped in front of him. Turner. Ma'am? You hired me to finish a job. I mean to finish it. Not tonight. No, sir. Not tonight. Bunkhouse is that way. There's water in the bucket and a blanket on the cot. I'll knock at first light. Yes, sir. Miss Carter. Yes, sir. You done more today than the last man I hired done in a week. She looked at him, and her mouth opened and nothing came out, and she closed it again. Good night, Miss Carter. Good night, Turner. She lay on the cot in the bunkhouse with her hands folded across her chest because she could not make a fist without crying, and she stared at the low dark above her, and she said the thing out loud that she had not said out loud in a long time. I can do this. No one answered. That was all right. She had not said it for anyone but herself. Somewhere past the bunkhouse wall, an owl called once. The dog was quiet. The house where Jack Turner slept was dark. In the morning she would get up and she would go back to the barn, and she would do it the next day and the next, and she would not quit. Tonight she had a cot and a blanket and a man 200 yards away who had told her in as many words as he was likely to ever use that he had seen what she could do. Tonight that was enough. Tonight that was everything. Emily Carter closed her eyes. And the woman every soul in Miles Crossing had decided was nothing slept, for the first time in a long and lonely year, like somebody who belonged somewhere on this earth. She woke before the first light, because a body that has learned hunger wakes before a body that has learned comfort, and Emily Carter had learned one, and never the other. She sat up on the cot. Her hands would not open all the way. She looked at them a moment, and she shut her eyes, and she opened them, and she made them open. That was all. Morning, Miss Carter. The voice came from the doorway of the bunkhouse. She had not heard him cross the yard. Morning, Turner. You sleep. Some. Your hands. I know it. Give 'em here. I can work. Give 'em here, ma'am. She held them out. He took one and then the other, and he turned them over, and he said nothing a long time. Who raised you? My mama, till I was 11. She teach you to lie about bleedin'. She taught me not to complain about it. That ain't the same thing. No, sir, it ain't. He let her hands go. He walked out without another word and came back in 2 minutes with a tin of something that smelled of pine and bear grease, and he set it on the cot beside her. Twice a day, morning and night. I don't need, Miss Carter. Yes. Twice a day. Yes, sir. And there's better gloves in the tack room, hanging on the third peg. Use 'em. I was using the gloves on the barrel. I know what you was using. Were they hers? He did not answer. Turner, I don't wish to use 'em if use 'em. Yes, sir. He went to the door. He did not go through it. She would have told you to use 'em, Miss Carter. She would have told you to use 'em, and she would have given you her own if they didn't fit. That was the kind of woman she was. Are we clear? Yes, sir. Good. He walked out. She sat on the cot a long while before she got up, and when she got up, she rubbed the salve into her hands, and she did not cry though she wanted to, and she went to the tack room, and she put on the new gloves, and she went to the barn, and she began. By noon she had cleared the last stall on the east side. She was standing in the doorway wiping her forehead on her sleeve when she heard the horse come down the road at a walk. Turner. The shout was from the gate. She knew the voice before she saw the man. Half the town knew that voice. It was Royce Dill Prudence's brother, the town's golden boy, the mayor's nephew, the man who smiled at women in the street and put his hand on the small of their back and then told his friends what they had let him do. Turner, you in there? Jack came out on the porch. He had the rifle again, not pointed, held. Royce. Jack, I come to talk. Talk from the gate. Jack. From the gate, Royce. Royce Dill laughed the way a man laughs when he has decided ahead of time that whatever is said will be funny. You got the Carter girl out here. I got a hand. Now, Jack, that there is a joke my sister played on you. She'll come fetch her back. You don't have to keep her. She ain't a thing being kept. Well, no, and my business is my business, Royce. The town's talkin', Jack. The town is always talkin'. They're talking about you taking a woman out here alone. They can talk till their teeth fall out. It ain't decent. Decent. Jack said the word slowly, the way a man tests a board for rot. Royce, you ride off my land before I ask you a second time. Jack. First time's the only time you get Royce. You know that. Royce Dill looked past Jack to the barn door where Emily was standing with the pitchfork still in her hand, and his face did a small ugly thing, and he tipped his hat at her in a way that was not a greeting. Miss Carter. Mr. Dill. You come on back to town, you hear? Before something happens you can't undo. I am working, Mr. Dill. Workin'? Yes, sir. Is that what we're callin' it? She felt her face go hot before her mouth caught up to it. Royce. Jack's voice had dropped a half step and gone quiet, and the dog heard the difference and stood up, and Royce Dill heard it too. Easy, Jack, easy now. Get? I'm goin'. Get. He turned his horse. He walked it slow down the road, because a man like Royce Dill could not leave without being seen to leave on his own time. When he was past the fence post, he looked back over his shoulder. You hurt that girl Turner, the town'll come for you. Royce? I'm sayin' it. The town sent her. The town sent her for a laugh. If the town comes for me on her account, you tell the town it can bring a wagon for what it leaves behind. Royce Dill did not answer. He put his heels to his horse, and he went. Emily had not moved. She was holding the pitchfork the way a woman holds a thing she has forgotten she is holding. Miss Carter? Yes. Come inside a minute. You said I wasn't to set foot in the house. I am saying the other thing now. Come on. She leaned the pitchfork against the wall and she walked across the yard, and she went up the porch steps, and she stopped at the door. He held it open for her, and she went in. The kitchen was clean. That was the first thing she saw. A man's kitchen kept by a man who did not know how to keep a kitchen and had learned anyway. A kettle on the stove. A cup upside down on a rag. A pair of boots by the door lined up neat as if someone had told him once and he had not forgotten. Sit. She sat. Royce Dill is going to be a problem, Miss Carter. I know it. You know him. Everybody knows him. Has he? No. Miss Carter. He has tried, Turner. He has not done. All right. All right. All right. He set a cup in front of her. Coffee black hotter than it should have been. She wrapped her hands around it, and the heat went into the places on her palms that the salve had not found. I will not stop workin'. I ain't asked you to, and I will not leave. I ain't asked you that neither. Then what are we sayin', Turner? I am sayin' that a man came to my gate and told me he did not like what I was doin' on my own land, and he said the town did not like it, and he is going back to the town to tell it what he saw. And what he saw was a woman workin' hard, and a man keepin' out of her way. And by the time he gets to the mercantile, it will be a woman and a man and a bed. That is what I am sayin'. Let them say it. Miss Carter, let them, Turner. My whole life folks have been sayin' things about me that wasn't true, and sayin' them louder than the truth ever got said. I am tired of changin' my step for it. If they want to make up a story, they will make it up whether I am here or in the road. He looked at her. He looked at her for a long moment, and what was on his face then was not what had been on his face the night before. The night before, he had looked at her the way a man looks at a stranger who has surprised him. Now he looked at her the way a man looks at a stranger he has begun to see. You are a harder woman than I took you for, Miss Carter. I had to be. Who hurt you? Sir, who hurt you that you had to be? She did not answer. She drank from the cup. The coffee was bitter and good. My daddy. How? The usual ways. And your mama. Died of it, I think, though the doctor said it was the lungs. I am sorry, Miss Carter. You don't know me, Turner. I am sorry anyway. She set the cup down. I have a question, Turner. Ask it. Why did you let me stay? He was quiet for a long time. My wife's name was Sarah. Yes, sir. She was a big woman, not like you, a tall woman, broad, strong, could lift the back end of a wagon by herself and did. The men in town used to laugh at her when we walked in together because I am not a tall man as you have seen. You're tall enough, Turner. I am not. I am a medium man, Miss Carter. Sarah was a large woman, and I loved her very much, and the men in town laughed at her and at me, and she used to say to me, Jack, don't you hear them? And I used to say, I hear them, Sarah, and she would say, don't you mind? And I would say, I don't mind. And she would say, good, because I don't mind neither. Turner. She died in the winter of '86, her and the child. I know. You know because the town told you. Yes, sir. The town told you a great deal about me, I would guess. Yes, sir. And you came out here anyway. Yes, sir. That is why I let you stay, Miss Carter. Because you came out here anyway. And because when I told you to go home, you said you would not. And Sarah would have said the same thing in the same words. And I have not heard a woman say a thing like that in 3 years. She did not trust herself to speak. Finish your coffee, Miss Carter. Yes, sir. And then go back to the barn, because Royce Dill is going to come back with more than himself next time, and I would like the east side finished before he does. Yes, sir. And Miss Carter. Yes. If a man comes through that gate when I am not on this porch, you walk, do not run. You walk to the tack room, and the rifle is in the rack behind the door, and you take it down, and you come out with it in your hands. You do not have to fire it. You only have to have it. I have never fired a rifle, Turner. It does not matter. Men like Royce Dill look at a woman's hands before they look at a woman's face. If a woman's hands have a rifle in them, a man like Royce Dill becomes a different man. Yes, sir. Go on. She went. She worked the rest of that day like a woman who had something to prove to the sun. By dusk, the east side was done, and half the west side was begun. And when Jack came out to stop her, she did not argue. She ate the plate he left on the step. She went to the bunkhouse. She rubbed the salve into her hands. She slept. The next day was the same, and the day after that, and the day after that. On the 5th morning, Jack came to the barn doorway with a cup of coffee in his hand, and he stood there watching her work a while before he spoke. Miss Carter. Turner. You have moved 3 years of work in 5 days. There is more yet to move. There is. But I want to say the thing I am saying. Come out a minute. She came out. He handed her the cup. She drank. I was a fool. Sir. I was a fool to tell you to go home. You didn't know. I did know. I looked at you, and I decided what you could do before you had done a thing, and I was wrong, and I am saying it to you now because my wife would want me to say it, and because it needs saying. Turner. Let me finish. Yes, sir. You are the best hand I have ever hired, Miss Carter, man or woman. And I am paying you $1 a day from this morning on, not 75 cents, and I will hear no argument about it. $1? No argument, Miss Carter. Yes, sir. Good. He turned to go. He stopped. He turned back. One more thing. Yes. I found something in the barn last night, in the back under the oats that you moved out of the far stall. A tin. It was Sarah's. I did not know it was there. I have not opened it. I wanted you to know, because you are the one who moved it into the light, and I did not want you to come upon it and not know what you had found. Oh, Turner. It is all right, Miss Carter. It is not all right. No, it is not. But I am all right, and that is a different thing, and I have not been able to say it for a long while, and I am saying it this morning to you. Because you pulled it out of the ground where I had left it, and I am grateful to you, and I would like you to know that I am. She could not speak. Finish the west side today if you can. Yes, sir. And Miss Carter. Yes, sir. If Royce Dill comes through that gate while I am in town this afternoon, you do what I told you to do. Yes, sir. Rifle, hands, porch. Yes, sir. He went. She heard his horse after a while going out the gate and down the road toward Miles Crossing. She worked. At 2 in the afternoon, she heard the hooves on the road. More than one horse. She set the pitchfork down, and she walked. Not ran. She walked to the tack room, and she took the rifle from the rack behind the door, and she walked out with it in her hands. 3 riders at the gate. Royce Dill in front. 2 men behind him she did not know. Miss Carter. Mr. Dill. Where's Jack? In town. Is he now? Yes, sir. Well, that is a shame, because me and these boys come to talk to him. You can come back when he's here. Miss Carter. I said you can come back. That is a big rifle for a what, Mr. Dill? He did not answer her. His horse shifted. The 2 men behind him did not move and did not speak, and that was worse than if they had. You got a letter for me to give him? No. Then you got no business at this gate today, Mr. Dill. Miss Carter, put the rifle down. No, sir. Miss Carter. No, sir, I will not. He looked at her. He looked at her the way Prudence Dill had looked at her that first morning in the kitchen, and she understood all at once that Royce Dill had been raised by the same mother, and that cruelty in that family was not a thing a person did. It was a thing a person was. We'll be back, Miss Carter. Yes, sir. I expect you will. Tell Jack we come. I will. Tell him we come with friends. Mr. Dill, ride. He rode. His men rode after him. She stood at the edge of the porch with the rifle in her hands until the dust on the road had settled, and then she stood there a while longer, and then she walked back to the tack room, and she put the rifle in the rack behind the door, and she walked back to the barn, and she picked up the pitchfork. Her hands did not shake until she was inside. When they shook, she set the pitchfork down, and she sat on an overturned bucket, and she put her face in her hands, and she did not cry because she had not cried in 6 years, and she was not going to begin on account of a man like Royce Dill. She breathed. She breathed until the shaking stopped. She stood up. She picked up the pitchfork. When Jack came home at dusk, she was still in the barn, and the west side was 3/4 done, and the rifle was back on the rack, and she met him at the gate, and she told him what had happened in 6 sentences and no more. He listened. He did not interrupt. When she was done, he took his hat off, and he turned it once in his hands, and he put it back on his head. Miss Carter. Yes. Eat at the house tonight. Turner. I am not asking a thing of you but to eat at the table. I will sit on the porch if you prefer, but you are not eating on the step tonight. That is done. Yes, sir. Good. He walked past her toward the house, and halfway there, he stopped without turning around, and she heard him clear as if he had said it 2 feet from her ear. They are not taking you off this place, Miss Carter, not while I am standing on it. He went on. She stood in the yard a long moment with the sun going down behind the barn she had given 5 days of her life to, and she understood for the first time in her grown life what it was to be stood for by another soul on this earth. She walked up to the house. She stopped at the door. Turner? Come in, Miss Carter. I am filthy. So am I. Come in. She came in. She sat where he pointed. He set a plate in front of her, beans, biscuit, a piece of ham he had cut thick, and he sat down across from her, and he bowed his head, and he said 4 words, and she did not catch them, and he raised his head, and he picked up his fork. Eat, Miss Carter. Yes, sir. They ate without speaking for a long time. Halfway through, he got up and got the coffee and poured hers first, and his second, and he sat down, and he watched her a moment. How old are you, Miss Carter? 28. You look younger. I look what I look, Turner. You look younger. I am saying a true thing. I am not making a compliment. All right. You got people. No, sir. Nobody. An aunt in Ohio. She wrote me once and said not to write back. Why? Because her husband did not like the look of me at Christmas. He set his fork down. Miss Carter. Yes. That is a terrible thing to tell a person. It is a terrible thing to have happen. I know it. I did not tell you for pity, Turner. I know you did not. Then why are you looking at me like that? Because I have heard 3 hard stories out of you in 5 days, and you have not told one of them like it was hard. And I am trying to understand the woman who can do that. Don't try, Turner. Why? Because the understanding is what breaks people. Staying on the outside of it is what kept me walking this long. He did not answer. He picked up his fork. He ate. When she stood to carry her plate to the basin, he stood too and took it out of her hand. I'll do mine, Turner. Not tonight, you will not. Turner. Miss Carter, go on to the bunkhouse. Rub the salve in. Sleep. Yes, sir. She went. In the morning, the dog started at 5:45, and she sat up on the cot before she knew why, and she heard the wheels on the road, and she pulled her dress over her head, and she went out. It was a wagon. A church wagon. 2 women in it. Mrs. Hallam from the boarding house, and behind her tight-faced Mrs. Pritchard, the preacher's wife. Jack was already on the porch. Ladies. Mr. Turner. Mrs. Pritchard. Mr. Turner, we come out of Christian Concern. Did you? We come to speak with Miss Carter. Speak from the seat, Mrs. Pritchard. I'm not opening the gate. Mr. Turner. Say your piece from where you are. Mrs. Pritchard folded her hands in her lap. She was a thin woman with a thin mouth, and she had never in her life said one thing and meant another, which was a kind of cruelty all its own. Miss Carter. Child, come here. Emily walked to the gate. She did not open it. Yes, ma'am. Child, there is talk in town. There is always talk in town, ma'am. It is not the ordinary kind. What kind is it? They are saying you have given yourself to this man. Ma'am, I'm saying what they are saying. I'm not saying it myself. You are saying it, ma'am. You drove 4 miles out here to say it. Miss Carter. What do you want, Mrs. Pritchard? I want you to come back to town. And do what, ma'am? Mrs. Hallam has agreed to take you back into the boarding house. The council has agreed to pay your rent for 1 month out of the poor fund. You will have time to find decent work. Work that does not what, Mrs. Pritchard? Work that does not make a spectacle of you, child. Emily was quiet a moment. Ma'am. Yes? You drove out here to offer me charity if I would leave the only work I have ever been good at. Miss Carter. Is that what you drove out here to do? I drove out here to save your soul, Miss Carter. My soul is fine, ma'am. It is not. Mrs. Pritchard? My soul has been fine for 28 years. It was fine when I slept in the hayloft of my daddy's neighbor because I could not go home. It was fine when I walked to this town from the stagecoach stop on a broken boot heel. It was fine yesterday when a man with a rifle came to this gate and told me I was not decent. I thank you for the ride out. You may turn your wagon. Miss Carter, turn the wagon. Mrs. Hallam. Mrs. Hallam turned the wagon. They were halfway down the road when Mrs. Pritchard twisted in the seat. You will be sorry, Miss Carter. Emily did not answer. You will be sorry before the week is out. Emily walked back to the porch. Jack was where he had been. He had not moved his hand from the post. Miss Carter. Yes. You handled that better than I would have. I have had practice, Turner. I reckoned you had. She went to the barn. It was past noon when the second wagon came. This one was Royce Dill and his mother Sarah Dill, the mayor's sister, a woman built like a lantern post and twice as cold, and the mayor himself, Harlan Dill, and a man Emily did not know in a black coat, who turned out to be the lawyer from 2 towns over. Jack came off the porch this time. He walked to the gate with the rifle in the crook of his arm. Harlan. Jack. State it. Harlan Dill cleared his throat. He was a big, soft man, with a gold watch chain across a stomach he was proud of. Jack, we have come in an official capacity. I see that. The town council has met. I don't belong to the town council, Harlan. You belong to the town, Jack. I do not, Harlan. I pay my tax and I keep my fences and I bury my dead, and that is the whole of my belonging to the town of Miles Crossing. State it. The council has passed a resolution. A resolution that no supplies will be sold to your ranch until such time as the woman presently residing on your property is removed from it. Jack did not move. Say that again, Harlan. You heard me, Jack. Say it again. No supplies will be sold. By whose order? The council's. Name every man who voted for it. Jack, name every man, Harlan, because come Monday, I am going to ride to every one of their houses and I am going to ask each one of them on his own porch in front of his own wife whether he would like to say it to my face what he said in a room with a door shut. Harlan Dill's mouth worked. The lawyer in the black coat leaned forward. Mr. Turner, that would constitute... Sir. That would... Sir, I do not know you. Do not address me. The lawyer sat back. Harlan. Jack, take your son home. Take your sister home. Take your lawyer home. And you tell the council that if one man in Miles Crossing lifts a hand against that woman on my land or off it, he will answer to me, and I will not be looking for the sheriff when I find him. Am I understood? Jack, you are threatening. Am I understood, Harlan? You are understood. Good day. They went. Royce Dill looked back once. His face was a thing to see. It was not anger. It was a small boy's face that has been told no in front of people he had wanted to impress. Emily saw that face, and she understood that the night was coming and that Royce Dill would bring it. Jack stood at the gate a long time after the dust had settled. When he turned around, she was behind him. Turner. Miss Carter. You cannot run a ranch with no supplies. I can run it 3 months on what I have got. They know that. They are not trying to starve me. They are trying to make me send you away before the 3 months is up. Then I will go. Miss Carter? Turner. You will not. Turner, I will not see you ruined over. Miss Carter. Look at me. She looked at him. Do you know what I did the winter my wife died? No, sir. I sat in that house for 11 days. I did not eat. I did not feed the stock. The stock died. 3 head of cattle and 4 hogs and a milk cow because I sat in that house and would not come out of it. The man who rode out to check on me was not from this town. He was a drifter, a stranger. He saw the stock and he saw me, and he broke my door down, and he fed me by hand like a child for 3 days until I would feed myself. Do you know his name? No, sir. Neither do I. He would not give it. He rode on when I could stand up, and he said, Mister, the only thing you owe me is the next time you see a soul in trouble, you do not ride by. That is what he said. Turner. I have been riding by for 3 years, Miss Carter. I rode by a girl in the boarding house who got sent out here as a joke. I would have kept riding by if you had gone home the first afternoon. You did not go home, and I am not riding by any more. She could not speak. So you will not be going to town to save me the shame, Miss Carter. You will stay here because I have asked you to. Are we clear? Yes, sir. Good. He looked at the road where the wagon had gone. Miss Carter. Yes. I would like you to sleep in the house tonight. Turner. In the spare room, which has a lock on the inside of the door, which was Sarah's sister's room the summer she stayed with us. I am not asking what you think I am asking. I did not think you were Turner. Good. I will come up after dark. Come up now. Turner, the west side. The west side will be there in the morning. Come up now. I do not want you in the bunkhouse tonight. I want you in the house. Yes, sir. She came up. He gave her the room that had been Sarah's sister's. He showed her the lock. He showed her where the rifle was in the hall. He did not show her the door to his own room, and she did not look. He told her to sleep. She lay down on the bed in her dress with her boots on the floor beside her, and she did not sleep. She heard him moving around the house for a long time. She heard him stop. She heard him sit down in a chair in the hall outside her door. She heard him not move for a long while after that. She fell asleep with the sound of his boots flat on the hall floor, 6 feet from where she lay, and she slept as hard as she had ever slept in her life. It was past midnight when the dog started. She was up before she was awake. She had her boots on before she was up. She had the door open before her boots were tied. Jack was already in the yard. The rifle was at his shoulder. Get back in the house, Miss Carter. How many? Get back. How many, Turner? 4, maybe 5. Get back. I will get the other rifle. Miss Carter. I know where it is. You told me. She went back in. She got the rifle from the hall rack. She came back out. She stood on the porch with it in her hands where he could see her, where the men at the gate could see her. Turner. Royce. We come to talk. At midnight. A man can talk at any hour he pleases. Not on my land. Jack. Put the rifle down. Royce, walk off. Jack. Royce, I am telling you a second time, Royce. Jack, we come for the girl. You come for what? The girl. She is coming to town with us. The council has voted. The sheriff has. The sheriff is in bed, Royce. The sheriff did not ride out here with you. Jack. Who is with you? Men. Name 'em, Royce. There was a silence. A silence is a thing in the middle of the night on a road between 2 men with rifles. It has weight. It has a shape. Emily felt it settle on the porch like a hand pushing down. Tom Hallam. Tom Hallam is 62 years old, and he is standing behind you because your mother told him to stand there. Who else? Ben Pritchard. The preacher's boy. Who else? 2 men you do not know. From out of town. From where? Bannock. Jack went very still. Bannock. Yes, Jack. You rode to Bannock and you hired 2 men. I did not hire 'em. My uncle did. Your uncle? The mayor. Harlan Dill hired 2 men out of Bannock to come to my gate at midnight. Jack. Royce. Jack, they are only here to talk. The first shot came from the fence line. It was not from Jack. It was not from Royce. It was from one of the men Emily did not know, and it hit the porch post 6 inches from her head, and she flinched so hard she nearly dropped the rifle, and then she did not drop it, and she raised it to her shoulder, and she pointed it not at the man who had fired, but at Royce Dill, because Royce Dill was the man the others would look at when a thing went wrong. Royce Dill. Miss Carter, you tell that man to put his gun down. Miss Carter put, you tell him, Royce, or I swear on my mama's grave I will put a hole in you before your boys put one in me. Miss Carter, you have never fired a... Royce, tell him. Boys! Boys, hold up! Hold up now!" Jack had not moved. His rifle was on the man at the fence. His voice was lower than it had been all day. "Royce." "Jack, you rode 4 men onto my land in the dark, and one of them has fired a shot at a woman standing on my porch." "Jack, it was not meant for her. It went wide, I swear to." "It did not go wide, Royce. It went where he pointed it. And you are going to ride those 4 men off my land right now, and tomorrow you are going to sit in your uncle's parlor, and you are going to hear what I have got to say, because I am comin' to town, Royce, and I am comin' at first light, and I will not be comin' alone." "Jack." "Ride, Royce." "Jack, please." "Ride." They rode. She lowered the rifle. Her hands were shaking so hard she could hear the stock against the porch rail. Jack crossed the yard in 4 strides, and he took the rifle out of her hands before she dropped it, and he set it against the post, and he took her by the shoulders, and he looked at her in the light from the one lamp burning in the hall behind her, and his face was a face she had not seen on a man in her whole life. "Miss Carter." "I'm all right, Turner." "Look at me." "I am—" "Emily, look at me." She looked at him. "You saved my life tonight." "Turner, that man was drawing on me when you put the rifle on Royce. He had me. You put the rifle on Royce, and the man looked at Royce, and Royce said, 'Hold up,' and that is the only reason I am standing here." "Turner, I owe you Emily Carter. I owe you everything a man can owe a woman short of the thing I do not have words for." "Turner, please." "What?" "Please take your hands off my shoulders before I fall down." He took his hands off. He caught her as she fell. He caught her the way a man catches a thing he has been afraid of dropping his whole life, and he carried her into the house, and he set her in the chair by the stove, and he put the kettle on, and he did not speak, and she did not speak, and the dog outside was quiet, and the road was quiet, and the night kept going on without asking either of them what it ought to do next. When the kettle sang, he poured the water over the grounds, and he set the cup in front of her, and he sat down across from her, and he said one thing, and one thing only, and he said it looking straight at her face. "Come, First Light. Emily, we are riding into that town together." She did not answer him at the table. She picked up the cup he had set in front of her, and she held it in both hands until the shaking was gone out of her fingers, and then she set it down. "Turner." "Yes. If I ride into that town at your side, there is no walking out of it." "I know it. A woman who rides into town with a man at dawn is a woman who has chosen." "I know it, Emily." "And you are asking me to choose." "I am not asking. I am saying a thing aloud so you can hear yourself decide it. That is a different thing." "Turner." "Emily." "Why do you keep calling me Emily tonight?" "Because Miss Carter is a name a man uses for a stranger, and I am done with that." She did not look away from him. "All right. All right. I will ride." "Emily." "I said, I will ride, Turner. I will not say it twice." He stood. He went out of the kitchen and down the hall and into the room that had been his and Sarah's, and she heard a trunk open and close, and he came back with a coat folded over his arm. "What is that?" "Sarah's coat." "Turner, I cannot." "She was a bigger woman than you, Emily. It will fit. I want you to wear it into town." "Why?" "Because the women in that town loved Sarah. Every one of them. And a good half of the men. And they will see that coat before they see your face, and it will give them the second they need to remember who it was she was, and whose coat that was, and whose yard it came out of this morning." "Turner, that is a cruel thing to ask of a coat." "It is a cruel town, Emily." She took the coat. They rode out at 5:15. He put her on Sarah's mare, an old steady animal that had not been ridden in 2 years, and walked like it remembered the hand that had raised it, and he rode beside her on his own horse, and neither of them spoke for the first mile. "Turner." "Yes. I have never been in front of a town before." "Nor have I lately." "What do I say?" "You say the thing that is true, Emily. You do not dress it. You do not soften it. You say the thing that is true, and you let them sit with it. And if they will not sit with it, then we ride home, and tomorrow I go to Bannock, and I hire my own men, and we do not come back to Miles Crossing until every last one of Harlan Dill's boys has been taken off his payroll. Turner, I am telling you what I will do, Emily. I am not asking you to want it." She rode a while in silence. "I want it, Turner." "Then we are of a mind." They came into Miles Crossing at first light. The town was up. The town was more than up. The town was in the street. Word had traveled the way word travels in places where there is nothing else to travel, and every porch on the main road had a woman on it, or a man leaning in its door, and every store had its shutters back, and the mercantile had a group of men on its step who did not move when the two horses came down the middle of the road. Jack did not stop at the mercantile. He did not stop at the church. He rode past both, and he rode straight to the house at the end of the road where Harlan Dill lived, and he dismounted at the gate, and he helped Emily down, and he walked up to the door with her on his left side, and he knocked once. Prudence Dill opened the door. "Oh," she said. "Prudence." "Jack, he is not." "He is. Fetch him." Jack. "Fetch him, Prudence." "I will not ask twice on my own, and Emily will not ask at all." Prudence looked at Emily. Her face did a thing Emily had never seen on it. It was not fear. It was not shame. It was something smaller and sharper than either one, and it was aimed inward, and it hurt her to look at. "Emily." "Prudence." "I did not know they would go out last night." "Didn't you?" "I did not. I swear on my mother. Royce told me after. I did not know." "Fetch your Uncle Prudence." She fetched him. Harlan Dill came to the door in his shirt sleeves with his suspenders down around his hips and his face the color of a man who has not slept. "Jack." "Harlan." "Jack now last night." "Harlan. The council." "What about it?" "You will call it. In the church. In 1 hour. Every man who voted on the resolution yesterday. And the sheriff. And Royce. And your sister. And the 2 men from Bannock, if they are still standing upright in your barn. Jack, I cannot. Harlan. 1 hour. Jack, this is not how. Harlan. A man fired a shot at a woman on my porch last night. A woman standing on my own land with her hands empty. That man was paid by your household. Do you understand what I am saying to you? Harlan Dill understood. It went through his face slow and then fast, and he reached out and took hold of the doorframe. 1 hour, Jack. Good. They walked back to the horses. Emily was aware in a way she had not been aware 5 minutes before that there were 30 or 40 people behind them on the road, and that none of them were speaking, and that she had not felt this many eyes on her body at one time in her entire life. Turner. Yes. I cannot do this. You can. Turner. I cannot stand up in front of Emily. Look at me. She looked at him. He had stopped in the middle of the road with his hand on her elbow. They have been looking at you your whole life. They have been looking at you and deciding things about you, and not one of them ever gave you the chance to answer. In 1 hour, you are going to stand in the front of that church, and you are going to answer every one of them at once, and they will not be able to look away, because they are the ones who asked for it. You have been waiting for this day your whole life, Emily Carter. You did not know you were waiting, but you were. Turner. Yes. Do not let go of my elbow. I will not. He did not. They sat on the bench outside the church for the hour. They did not speak. People walked past, and some tipped their hats, and some did not, and some stopped and looked at Emily's face, and could not find what they had come to find, and walked on. At 6, the bell rang. The church filled. Emily and Jack walked in last, and every head in the pews turned, and nobody said a word, and they walked down the aisle and took the bench at the front that Harlan Dill pointed them to. Harlan Dill stood at the pulpit. The sheriff, a tired man of 50 named Abel Ross, stood beside him. Royce Dill sat in the second pew with his mother. The 2 men from Bannock were not there. This meeting is called. Harlan Dill had his hands on the pulpit. He had recovered his color. He had not recovered his confidence, and that was a thing the whole room could see. Mr. Turner has requested a hearing on the matter of the resolution passed yesterday by this council. Mr. Turner, the floor. Jack did not stand. Emily. Turner. Go on. She stood. She stood slow because her knees did not want to. She walked to the pulpit. Harlan Dill stepped back. She did not stand behind the pulpit. She stood beside it where the whole room could see the whole of her. My name is Emily Carter. The room held its breath. I am 28 years old. I came to this town 4 months ago on the stage from Helena. I had $3 and a change of stockings in my bag. I rented a bed at Mrs. Hallam's boarding house, and I paid for it for 8 weeks out of the laundry I took in, and the mending I did for Mr. Briggs's wife. On the 9th week, Mr. Briggs's wife said she did not need my mending anymore. I did not ask her why. I know why. She did not look at anyone in particular. She looked at the back wall of the church. She had learned years ago that you could say a hard thing if you did not look at the face of the person you were saying it to. A week after that, the girls at the boarding house told me Mr. Turner was looking for a hand. They told me as a joke. They have said so themselves. Prudence Dill is sitting in the 3rd pew on the left, and she can stand up and say different if she wishes. Prudence Dill did not stand up. I went to Mr. Turner's ranch. He told me to go home. I told him I would not. He hired me at 75 cents a day and a meal and a bed in the bunkhouse. 5 days later, he raised my pay to $1 because he said I was the best hand he had ever hired. I did not sleep in his house. I did not eat at his table. I did not touch his hand. I cleaned his barn. Somewhere in the middle of the room, a woman began to cry quietly. Emily did not look to see who. Last night, 5 men came to Mr. Turner's gate at midnight. One of them was Royce Dill. 2 of them were men I did not know, paid out of this town to come to that gate. One of those men fired a shot at me while I was standing on the porch with my hands empty. Mr. Turner did not fire on him. I did not fire on him. We sent them off the land. They rode. She looked at Royce Dill for the first time. Royce. He did not answer. Royce, stand up. Miss. Stand up, Royce. He stood. His mother reached for his sleeve, and he shook her off without looking at her, which was the first honest thing Emily had ever seen him do. Royce, did you ride to Mr. Turner's gate last night? I did. Did you ride with 4 men? I did. Were 2 of those men paid by this town? They were. A murmur went through the church. Harlan Dill gripped the pulpit. Royce, did one of those men fire on me? He did. Did he fire on Mr. Turner first? Royce Dill was quiet. His mother whispered something sharp. He did not look at her. No, Miss Carter. No, he fired on you first. Why? Because I told him. The church went silent. Say that again, Royce. I told him to Miss Carter. Why? Because I wanted Jack to shoot first. Why? So we could say it was Jack. Royce Dill. I am saying it, Miss Carter. I am saying it aloud because I did not sleep, and I will not sleep again if I do not say it, and I am done being the man in this town who does not say it. I told him to fire on you because I wanted Jack to fire back, and if Jack fired back, the sheriff would have to come, and if the sheriff came, Jack would hang, and if Jack hung, I would not have to look at my sister's face anymore when she told me what kind of man I had let myself become. Sarah Dill stood up. Royce, you sit down. Mama. Sit down. Mama, I will not. Royce Dill, you will. Mama, sit down. She sat down. Nobody breathed. Miss Carter. Royce. I have done you a wrong. I have done Mr. Turner a wrong. I have done my own self a wrong. I do not ask for your forgiveness this morning. I do not deserve it. I am only saying aloud what I have done because it is the only thing left in me that is fit to say. He sat down. He put his face in his hands. His mother did not touch him. Emily waited until the room remembered how to breathe. Harlan Dill. Miss Carter. The resolution. Miss Carter, in light of, rescind it. It is rescinded. Say it again. The resolution is rescinded, by the chair, by the full authority of this chair. Let it be struck from the minutes. And the 2 men from Bannock will be on the noon stage home, Miss Carter, with what they are owed and not 1 cent more. And Royce? Harlan Dill looked at his nephew a long time. Royce will answer to the sheriff, Miss Carter, as any man would. Good. The church sat. Nobody stood. Nobody had dismissed them, and nobody wanted to be the one to go first. Emily was not finished. She had known standing there that she was not finished. She had known it since the second she saw Prudence Dill in the third pew with her face in her hands. She had known it since she felt Sarah Turner's coat hang heavy on her shoulders. I have one more thing. The room waited. Mrs. Pritchard, you are in the front pew. I see you. Mrs. Pritchard raised her face. Yesterday you drove out to Mr. Turner's gate, and you offered me charity if I would leave my work. You said it was for my soul. I told you my soul was fine. I would like to say something else to you this morning in front of your husband and your neighbors. My soul is fine. My body is fine. My work is honest. And the next woman who walks into this town on the stage from Helena with $3 in her bag is going to find a better town than the one I found, because the women in this church this morning are going to make it so. Am I heard? She did not wait for an answer. She turned to Harlan Dill. One more thing. Miss Carter, there has been talk in this town about what I ought to do to make myself decent again. I heard it from Mrs. Pritchard. I heard it from Royce. I heard it whispered on this road not 1 hour ago by 3 women I will not name. The talk has been that I ought to marry Mr. Turner or leave his ranch. The room did not breathe. I have heard the talk. I have considered it. And I am answering it now in front of this town so that no man and no woman in Miles Crossing will ever have cause to ask me the question again. She turned. She looked at Jack Turner where he was sitting on the bench at the front, and he was looking at her with a face she would remember on her deathbed, and she spoke to him, and to him only, though the whole town heard. Jack Turner. Emily, I am not marrying you because this town told me to. No, ma'am. I am not marrying you to save you from the talk. No, ma'am. I am marrying you because a man fired on me last night, and you stepped in front of it. And because a week ago you told me to use your wife's gloves, and you knew what you were telling me, and you told me anyway. And because I have looked for a man my whole life who would see me standing and not see past me, and I have found one, and I am not walking out of this church without him. Jack Turner stood up. He walked to the front of the church. He took her hand in both of his. Emily Carter. Yes. Will you have me? I will. Here. Here. Now. Now. He looked at the preacher. The preacher was already standing. Nobody in Miles Crossing moved from the pews because nobody had been given leave, and nobody was going to be the one to walk out on the thing that was happening in front of them. Preacher Pritchard married them in 7 minutes. He did not give the long words. He gave the short ones. He asked the questions. They answered. He pronounced them. Jack did not kiss her in the church. He took her hand, and he walked her down the aisle, and he walked her out the doors, and he walked her to the horses, and at the horses in the middle of the main road of Miles Crossing, in front of a town that had come out to see her hang, and had stayed to see her wed. He took her face in his 2 rough hands, and he kissed her once slow and plain, like a man who has decided a thing and will not be undeciding it, and she kissed him back the same way. When he lifted her onto Sarah's mare, she was crying. She had not cried in 6 years. She cried the whole ride home. He did not say a word about it. He rode beside her all the way back to the gate, and at the gate he got down, and he opened it for her, and she rode through, and he closed it behind them, and he latched it with his own hands, and he looked at her sitting on that old mare in his dead wife's coat, and he said the only thing that needed saying. Welcome home, Mrs. Turner. She did not get down from the mare right away. She sat in the saddle with her hands on the pommel, and she looked at the house, and at the barn, and at the bunkhouse where she had slept 6 nights running, and she understood that she was looking at the whole of her life from here on, and that it was a smaller picture than she had been raised to hope for, and that it was larger than she had let herself believe she would ever hold. Emily. Jack? You going to get down? In a minute. All right. He waited. Jack? Yes. I do not know how to be a wife. I do not know how to be a husband a second time. Then we are even. We are. She got down. He caught her at the hip the way he had caught her the night before. He did not let go right away. She did not step back. Emily. Jack. There is work to do today. I know it. The west side of the barn. I know it. I am going to change my shirt, and I am going to come out, and I am going to work beside you until dark. Yes. And then we will eat in the house. And then we will sit on the porch. And then we will go to bed. And we will not talk about any of it more than we have to. Not today. Today is too much, Emily. I am saying it aloud because I want you to know I am saying it. Jack Turner. Yes. I have not been asked what I wanted for so long I almost do not know how to answer you. Then do not answer today. Answer in a week. Answer in a year. Answer when you know. I do know one thing. What? I want to finish the west side. He almost smiled. He almost did. It was the closest she had seen him come in 6 days. Then let us finish the west side. They finished it. Not that day, it took them 3 more, but they finished it. And the day they finished it, Jack Turner stood at the doorway of the barn, and he looked at what had been 3 years of a life he had not been able to walk into, and he took his hat off, and he did not say anything, and he did not need to. The town did not end the way a town ends in a story. The town bent. A week after the meeting in the church, Mrs. Pritchard drove out to the ranch in the wagon by herself. She had a basket on the seat beside her. She did not come to the gate. She stopped 10 feet short of it, which was how a person in that country asked permission without having to ask for it out loud. Emily walked down. Mrs. Pritchard? Mrs. Turner. Ma'am. I brought a ham. That's kind. It is not kind, child. It is owed. I come to say a thing, and I will say it, and then I will go. You do not have to answer me, and you do not have to take the ham if you do not want it. Say it, Mrs. Pritchard. I was wrong. Emily waited. I was wrong about you, Mrs. Turner. I was wrong about Mr. Turner. I was wrong the day I drove out here in that wagon with Mrs. Hallam, and I was wrong the week before and the year before that. I have been wrong for a long while. I do not ask you to forgive me. I ask you to take the ham. If you will take the ham, I will know you have heard me, and I will go home, and I will not come again until you send for me. Emily opened the gate. She took the ham. Mrs. Pritchard. Yes, child. I will send for you. Mrs. Pritchard did not answer. She turned the wagon. She drove. The next week it was Mrs. Hallam with a jar of apple butter. The week after that, it was the school teacher, Miss Ames, with a bundle of yellow roses from her own garden. The week after that, it was 3 women at the gate at once from the church sewing circle with a quilt they had started in October for a bride who had not come. Prudence Dill did not come for a long time. She came in February in a snow so heavy the horses had trouble on the road, and she walked from the gate because she had come on foot the last 2 miles, and she stopped at the porch step, and she did not come up onto the porch. Prudence. Emily. You walked. I did. Why? Because I did not want to be able to turn around halfway. A horse can be turned. A woman in the snow cannot. Emily came down off the porch. She put her hand on Prudence Dill's elbow, and she walked her up the steps, and she walked her into the house, and she sat her by the stove. Jack was in the barn. He did not come in, though he had seen her from the window of the tack room, and he had let her walk past. Prudence. I have not been able to sleep, Emily. Since when? Since that morning in the church. Since before that. Since the first day you come through the door of the boarding house with your chin up, if I am being honest, which I am trying to learn to be. I have not slept, Emily, because I knew what I did to you, and I knew it the hour I did it, and I did it anyway. I know, Prudence. I am not here for forgiveness. I know you are not. Then what am I here for? You tell me, Emily, because I do not know. You are here because you walked 2 miles in the snow, Prudence. A person who walks 2 miles in the snow has already forgiven herself part of the way. She has come for the rest of it, and the rest of it is not mine to give. It is yours. Prudence Dill cried then. She cried the way a woman cries who has not cried in a long while and does not know how to stop once she has begun. Emily did not touch her. She sat across from her, and she let her, because she had learned in 6 months on that ranch that there were kindnesses you gave with your hands, and there were kindnesses you gave by keeping them in your lap. When Prudence Dill was done, she wiped her face on her sleeve. Emily. Prudence. I want to work. Work. I do not want my mother's money anymore. I do not want my uncle's house. I want to work. I do not care at what. I have asked Mrs. Hallam, and she will not have me, and I do not blame her. I have asked at the mercantile, and they will not have me either. I thought maybe out here, Prudence. I will not ask twice, Emily. I know I have no right. Prudence, be quiet a minute. She was quiet. You will come out here on Mondays and Thursdays. You will help me with the washing and the kitchen garden when it goes in. I will pay you 40 cents a day and a meal, because that is what the work is worth, and not 1 cent more, because you do not yet know what it is to earn a wage, and I will not spoil you on the first one. And you will not speak to my husband unless he speaks to you first, because he is not ready, and he does not owe you his readiness, and he may never be ready, and that is his right. Are we clear, Prudence Dill? We are clear, Emily Turner. Good. There is bread risin' in the kitchen. Start with that. Prudence started with that. Royce Dill did 6 months in the jail at Bannock for the thing he had hired done because the sheriff at Miles Crossing had turned out to be, underneath his tiredness, a man who still knew the shape of the law when it was laid in front of him clear. When Royce Dill came home, he did not come home to his mother's house. He took a room at the back of the livery, and he mucked stalls for Mr. Briggs, and he did not drink, and he did not smile at women in the street. And when he passed Jack Turner on the road, he took his hat off, and he held it at his side, and he did not raise his eyes, and Jack Turner after the third or fourth. Such passing nodded not much, but enough, and Royce Dill saw it, and kept walking. The Turner Ranch did not become rich. Ranches in that country did not become rich in those years. They held on, and they put in another crop, and they bought another heifer in the spring, and they sold another steer in the fall, and the hands they hired stayed longer than the hands of the ranches on either side, because Jack Turner paid honest, and Emily Turner fed them like they were her own brothers, and word traveled in the bunkhouses of the Montana Territory the way word travels in any country where a man is looking for a place to lay his head. Their first child came in the second spring, a girl. Emily named her Sarah, and Jack did not argue because he had known from the first week of the marriage that she would, and he had been waiting for it. And when she said the name aloud in the bedroom over the small red face in her arms, he put his forehead against hers and he wept, which was a thing he had not done in front of anyone since the winter the first Sarah went into the ground. Their second child was a boy. They named him after the drifter who had broken down Jack Turner's door in '86, except they did not know his name. So they called the boy John because Jack had said a man is named by the people who love him. And I loved that man for 3 days, and I never knew what to call him, and I would like to give his kindness a name at last. Emily Turner did not become thin. She did not try. She had worked that barn in a body the town had decided was not fit for work, and she had ridden into that town on a morning in that body and made a town sit down in its own pews, and she had carried 2 children in that body and nursed them in that body, and buried her own mother's memory at last in that body, in a quiet grave by the creek behind the house that she dug one afternoon in her 3rd year of marriage with her own 2 hands. Because Jack had said, Emily, you never had a place to put her down, and I would like you to have one. She did not become thin, and she did not become quiet, and she did not become small. She became known, in Miles Crossing and in Bannock and in the bunkhouses of that country, and at last in the church on the main road of the town that had